So I've been playing a lot of OG Rex lately. Been playing it on Apex Killers community server, on official stats servers, and then also on Divine Beasts 3. It's 40 times growth, all mods server. And I've been really just trying to figure out a good build and also play style and some different ways to use the Rex most effectively on these different servers. There's been a lot of changes to the Rex, recently and over the last several months. And you might have seen a couple of videos I posted. One of them was like my frustration about the Rex on Apex Killers, especially when it's going up against Karks. And then I did a follow-up on that where I said, was I wrong? And I kind of explained a little bit further my opinion on the Rex and my thoughts on it. Some people kind of, I think, misunderstood some of the things I was saying. I know a lot of people are very, very opposed to instant bone break on any animal, which that was the reason I guess they changed bone break, and I can understand that a little bit. But my point in that video was, when you compare it to the other subtitans on Apex Killers, I think they've all got certain OP abilities, so to speak, that the Rex just doesn't compare to. But that being said, a lot of you guys agreed with me. There were a select few, and some of the testers and some of the really, really good players on Apex Killers, a couple of people I consider the best in the game. They can get on Rex and just make it work. I mean, they can do that with any Dino. But they gave me some tips, and I do respect their opinion, so I really wanted to consider it and give it a sincere try, and that's what I've been doing the past several weeks. Since my last video, I've really been trying to use it, and I have certain builds that I use in deathmatch when I'm just doing like 1v1s against different opponents, and then I've got a different build that I use on the main server, on Apex Killers anyway, and I'll explain why that is. And then there's even yet a different build I use on the DB3 all mods server, because they have a much different balancing on that server. And that is one key thing you got to keep in mind with the Rex, is that it all depends on how it's balanced and how the stat changes are affecting that particular Rex on that particular server. And you might have to, go play several different servers before you find the one that you like. I don't really care for the official stats OG Rex very much. You can make it work. I feel like the Blood Rivalry one is probably the best for the official stats one. You just use Blood Rivalry and it'll get you instant bone break after 3 bites on your crushing bite. That works pretty good on officials. But the official stats one is just terrible. The way they've got official stats right now is very much catered towards mid-tier stuff and not so much Apex stuff anymore. The nice thing is that the community servers can balance their stats on these dinosaurs, and there's a couple of community servers that I've found where they balance the stats very nicely. Of course, Apex Killers, you probably know I play on that one a lot. They've got really good balancing, but the Rex, I think, like I said, there's just a couple of things, mainly the turning and the speed on it, and the fact that there's no real good bone break on that server is what I get frustrated with. So on DB3, all mods, 40 times growth, it's actually perfect. I come play here because this Rex is a perfect Rex in my opinion. 7,500 combat weight, 900 health, excellent turn, really good trot speed, and when you bone break, it does take 2 crushing bites to get the full bone break, but when you do, it's 30 seconds of bone break. And that's exactly what you need to deal with the tail riders and the hit and runners and the bleed healers. It's a great counter to that whole meta, and I think this is how it should be on every server. It's really, really amazing. On DB, it also has the standard 10-second surprise attack charge up, and it has the 5-second cooldown for bone snap and the 3 or 4-second cooldown for crushing bite. And then it's got a much faster trot, and it has really good stamina as well. It's got bad stamina recovery, or worse stamina recovery than you would find like on Apex killers, but it's got decent stamina to begin with. So it just feels to me like how a Rex should exactly feel. It's got the health and the combat weight that it needs. It has really good turning radius. I can't forget that. The turn radius is like 1.65. So you can stand and fight, and so you don't just get tore up and tail ridden by the small, fast bleeders. And that's one of the biggest frustrations that you can have as a Rex when you fight in the open, and it makes you have to use environment. But on DB3, you don't even need to worry about the environment. You can just stand and fight in the open like a Rex should. So the build that I've zeroed in on Apex killers is the regular biter course and then bone snap. And the reason I use bone snap is because you can get full bone break with it. It's only about 6 or 7 seconds effectively, but you can do it. If you charge it up like 3 or 4 seconds worth, it'll give you the bone break, and it does good damage as well. So it's great for ambushing and catching stuff off guard, and it does allow you that immobilization that you need to catch the small fast stuff. Then I do use it with killing blows, so that way if I only get a little bit of a fracture on it, at least I get the extra damage. And then I will use Blood Rivalry if I know I'm going to be doing like a 1v1 against a Kark or an Acro. Blood Rivalry is very, very good. But generally walking around, I think killing blows is the way to go. It's going to be more effective on more targets. And then I like King's Mantle, except for when you're in hot spots, you need to use thick boned, because if you get bone broken by another Rex, you'll probably lose that fight because they're going to have the extra 20% killing blows damage, and you're not going to, you're not necessarily going to have it if they have thick boned on. And just that extra 20% damage is all they need to face tank you and kill you. And then you can use Ravenous in between battles to heal up. Tyrant's Presence is basically a worthless ability. It only works on mid-tier stuff where you don't really need to worry about their armor level anyway. So I'm not really sure why this is an ability. I think it should be the opposite. I think you should lower the armor of things that are your size or bigger. That would be a much better ability, but as it is now, it's worthless. Shatterstride is a decent option for brawling. In the deathmatch server, when I'm doing 1v1s and stuff like that, then I will use that along with Crushing Bite to better brawl. But in the main server, I like Surprise Attack because I usually lead with an ambush and the Bone Snap. And then that way I have knockback resistance and extra speed. Tail Attack's really good. Don't sleep on it. It does good damage. And then Shattering Cry, I don't really use that ever. I like Rampage and Terrible Roar. Terrible Roar gives you more damage, but it takes a long time when you use it. The animation takes a really long time, so it leaves you vulnerable. So you can't really use it in the middle of a fight. It's not great for brawling, but it is good for ambushing. You can preemptively use it, and then use it behind a rock or something, and then ambush, and you'll have it ready for 60 seconds. But if you're going to be brawling, then Rampage is the way to go. Rampage is a much quicker animation when you use it. It just takes like a few seconds like that. And then it's only got a 2-minute cooldown, and it is active for a minute. So you're really only waiting every minute to make this come back. So it's actually a really, really good ability for brawling it out. If you're not really going to be ambushing, but you're just going to be brawling stuff, this is the one that I would use. And it can be really good to use as a deterrent when they see you use that with your red eyes. Sometimes it keeps them from attacking you. So even if you're not 50% health or less, and it wouldn't even give you any kind of bonus, they don't know that. And so it can kind of keep people from coming back in and attacking you. You can use it like that very effectively. And then the other thing is that when you do use it, it's up to 50%. So when you're 50% health, you'll have when you use that, you start off at like 10% extra damage, and then it scales up for the amount of health that you lose. So you're really doing only 50% extra damage when you're really, really low on health. So it's situational and it works, but I still like Terrible Roar better as long as you can use it intelligently and wisely, and don't pop it where that the enemy can attack you, because it's got such a long animation when you use it that it can be dangerous to use, in a fight. So you definitely need to use it preemptively. And so I use it as more of the ambush setup, and that's how I set up my attacks in my fights. Is I always try to lead with an ambush and with Bone Snap with Terrible Roar active, and I can win most of my fights. If I get surprised, then I have to brawl, then I'd probably much rather have Rampage on. But even if I'm stuck with that other build and I get surprised and I get attacked, I can still use the environment and stuff to my advantage and usually get out alive or escape. So this is the build I usually walk around with, and the one that I like the most right now on the main server. And then like I said, I'll switch it up with Blood Rivalry and Crushing Bite for certain scenarios. If I know I'm going to be faced in those certain scenarios, then I will switch it up just for those specific situations. Like for Acros and for Karks, Blood Rivalry is very, very good for those things. I tried using Blood Rivalry as a primary to walk around with, and then I figured I'd switch to Killing Blows. If I saw something big like a Bars or an Edmon, I could swap it out when I was going to need the extra damage, or a Giga or something like that. But I figured out that Killing Blows is actually more handy in more situations, and if I do come across the Karks or the Acros, I'm not going to be able to lay down and swap it out. But you can use the environment pretty well and still make Killing Blows and Bone Snap work nicely. And there's a clip later that highlights that pretty well, and I'll show you what I'm talking about there. But you definitely want thick boned, because you don't want to get surprised by another Rex without thick boned on, because it's pretty much a sure loss if you do. That's the build that I've found has me best prepared for most of the situations I'm going to encounter on the main server. And so here's a few clips here to show you some examples of what I'm talking about. So we'll start off with an interesting fight here where we kind of started getting attacked by some Karks, and so we got into this tight spot here where we knew we'd have a much better chance of fighting them. As you know, probably on Apex Killers, the Karks are like the kryptonite for the OG Rex, because Karks and Acros, because they can just tail ride you to death. But what ended up happening here was, that's why we got into that tight spot, but these Dinos came and started attacking us instead. So we kind of, we ended up taking this fight instead of the Kark fight, and it was really funny because I'm actually, like you can see, I just swam like very far out into that lake fighting that Dino, and he was just trying to face tank me. You can see how much, he is very, very scarred up. He took a lot of damage. I'm taking a lot of damage too, obviously, but I can tell by his scars, I did way more damage to him than he did to me. And so we're winning this fight, even though I was swimming most of the time. My partner here is still very healthy. I'm half health, but I know I'm only going to be recovering health at this point. And those guys, if they make a mistake and come up on land, are going to be dead. So we've got them basically pinned in the water. They're making some dumb choices like that one right there where he comes to try to bite me, and then my partner can just run in and land a full bite right on the back of his neck. And we end up getting both of these guys like really, really scarred up. And like the funny thing is that most of the time we were fighting them was actually in the water. But they weren't doing very good. With Dinos, you should do like a flick bite thing where you bite them and then dodge the return bite, and they just weren't doing that. They were trying to tank way too much, and they were using stuff like that. You can see how scarred up he is. These guys were not very well coordinated and probably not super experienced. But I liked the fight because the fact that we were fighting mostly swimming around in the water with these guys. They were kind of drawn to talk a little bit of trash in Global too about it, and so it was kind of funny that we were able to just launch in there and give them the fight that they wanted in the water. We weren't even fighting them on land. We were like giving them every advantage possible, and still just really beating these guys up. But I think it highlights pretty well how strong the Rex actually really is. Like I said, on Apex Killers, it's probably the second best Rex that you can play right now, only second to the one that you'll find on DB3 All Mods 40 times growth server. That's the only one that's better. That one's actually perfect. It's amazing. And but the Apex Killers Rex is very close to it. You just have to be really careful with the tail riders and the bleeders, and if you can use your environment, you can really make it work well. And you can see in this clip here, we're even fighting Dinos in the water. So the OG Rex on Apex Killers is very, very strong. It's the strongest Rex, the best feeling Rex that I've played other than the one on the DB3 server, the Divine Beast server called DB3 All Mods 40 times growth. That Rex is probably like the perfect Rex right now. It feels so good when I play that one. So that's why I like to hop over there onto that server sometimes and play. And it's also a nice change of pace. Apex Killers is growing, and they're adding a lot of rules and stuff, and some of them are kind of wonky, like the body contest rules and the territory rules are a little bit, they're kind of strange. It's kind of, it's not super intuitive to have to stand on a body and face tank all the time and not really be able to move around all that much. Or, trying to have to territory challenge a Dominus out of the area is kind of awkward when they're flying around and you're running around on the ground. Hopefully that stuff will get changed. They're usually pretty good about adjusting to that kind of stuff, but it just takes time. So in the meantime, when I'm getting frustrated with those things on Apex Killers, I just hop over to DB3 and have fun on this Rex. You can focus more on fighting. You can focus more on having fun with your friends and not so much on worrying about some obscure rules that you might not agree with. This clip is on Apex Killers here. We're fighting this Sauro. Really good tail rider here, and this is one of the players that probably could 1v2 a set of Rexes, but we have a situation here I thought was pretty funny where we're able to use the combination and communication between the tail knockback and the bone snap to set this up for a victory. So this was a funny fight here because this is a way when you use duos, he'd tail wax him right here and then I bone snap him. That's a good way to land a bone snap or a crushing bite. But that's one of the reasons I love bone snap, because I could get a full bone break on him and he just can't get away. Those little tail rider bleeder guys, that's what they love to do. They love to come in, get tail ride you a little bit or nip at you, get bleed on you, run out and heal, and it's just this really, really long, drawn out and annoying fight. And so it's really, really nice to have that bone snap available, because when you do land it, it's hard to land. It's very, very hard to land because it has a long charge up. It has a long cooldown. It makes a really loud noise when you charge it up, but when you do hit it, man, is it really pay off. It really pays off for you. And I like it because I don't have to give up the extra 20% damage. When you use Blood Rivalry, you're giving up an extra 20% damage with killing blows. So even if you don't get a full bone break on somebody, you just get the fracture, you're still getting the extra damage. And I think that is much more useful in more situations than Blood Rivalry is. So that's why I like it. And that's why I use the Bone Snap, because I have the option to either do fracture or a full bone break when I get it. As slim as that chance might be, I still like having it, and I feel like this setup works best for me on the main server in most situations. This is a really good player here, and they're a big threat actually, even on a Sauro Faganax. This is a good example. Look how bad the turn is. This shows you how horrible the turn is on Apex Killers. When you compare this to you'll see some of the clips later on the DB server, how much better the turning is. You can actually sit and brawl with these guys that try to do this kind of stuff to you. And the really good players on this server know that, and they exploit that. And it's very frustrating and hard to deal with. So I'm using my environment, of course. I've got to do something to keep him off my back, because otherwise I don't know how else to do it. It's one of the nice things on the main servers. You're not stuck in an arena and salt flats where you're forced to just use flat ground and deal with horrible turn. You can actually use the water and use this narrow log, use rocks and cliffs and things like that to protect your backside, and that evens up the odds a little bit. tail attack does a little bit of damage as well. I mean, it's decent. So I used that, of course. Now here, I thought I got a little bit too aggressive and I made a huge mistake by using this terrible roar. I should not have done that because it just leaves me vulnerable to this right here, and you can see the type of damage that he does to me right there. That was really dumb. When I had him caught in the water, I should have just focused on biting him and, you know, doing some damage to him and then gotten to the other side and got back up on the rock, but you know, I made a mistake, but I was able to at least recover from it, and I do have this log here to sit and heal. And this is a good example of why Blood Rivalry would not work in a fight like this. This guy's really, really patient, and so he just sits there. I mean, I had to cut a lot of this out because there was probably 10 minutes or more. You can see how much I've healed up in the time that I was standing here, just being super patient and understanding that I'm just going to heal. You know, I'm going to take this time to heal. If he's not going to be aggressive and get bleed on me, even though I know he's healing too, it's important for me to heal because of how low I was, and so that's what I'm doing. But Blood Rivalry, you need to hit 3 consecutive bites, like within, you know, 15 seconds per bite, you know, within 15 seconds of each other in order for it to work. And you can see how this guy's playing. I'm not getting that many bites on him that quickly. So Blood Rivalry would not have helped me in this fight, I don't think at all. There was just a lot of cat and mouse, and patience really came into play. I saw that he kind of got stuck right there, so I knew I could take that opportunity to get some damage on him, where I don't take any damage in return, and I can just keep healing. So it's kind of nice to be able to play the healing game with a bleed healer, where I'm getting some damage on him and back here healing while he's still, you know, over there with the combat timer on. Even though, you know, I didn't put any bleed on him, I still got damage on him. He didn't get damage on me, so I'm out healing him. I know he's waiting for me to burst out so he can circle behind me, so I'm just kind of trying to do some short little bursts like this to get damage and then get back so that he can't get behind me. In this case, I kind of stay out a little bit too long, but I am able to use the water in that rock to prevent him from getting behind me. And now I'm going to post up over here because it was taking way too long on that log, so I want to switch positions now to try to see if he'll make a mistake, because it's going to be a new spot, and now he's got to kind of learn the angles now on how to come in and get behind me. And if he makes a mistake, I know I can capitalize on it and get him. And right here is where he makes his mistake. He doesn't realize I can hit him there. I know he's got the water. There's not a whole lot of room for him to go. He's either going to go back or go this way. And if he goes this way, I could land a bone snap on him. And that's what I did. Full bone break. He's done. There's no way for him to get out of it. And that's how bone snap works better than Blood Rivalry in those types of situations. This is a situation where we were going to hunt this Edmont and we got attacked by these 2 acros. You've probably seen these guys out there. It's probably the best acro player in the server, Ink, and then Twisty's his partner. Both extremely good players here, and a very, very dangerous fight if we're not careful. So we've definitely got to use environment. I mean, you can see right there we even hit him with crushing bites, and he still ran away. They've got a charge and a tail knockback. These guys are like really built for fighting Rexes. It's scary, actually. They've got everything they need to counter us. So we're trying to put as much pressure on them as we can in the very beginning like this, because we did get the crushing bite on them and they were fractured. So we're trying to make them use as much stamina as they can. Try to create some space so that we can then go post up in a better spot. But with these guys, you can't really mess around. You've got to get to an environmental advantage immediately. You can't waste any time. because they will make you pay for sure. So at this point, we're just keeping our face towards them, not giving them our backs at all, getting some hits when we can, and slowly backing into this cave. And this is where we really want to fight them, is in this cave, where they can't get in and out as easily. So I think we're winning the damage trade at this point. The longer we wait, the more time they're going to have to heal, so they can keep healing up. But we will heal a little bit also, so it's not the worst thing in the world, and we're in a good spot now. Another thing that was pointed out to me about the healing is that I always thought the OG Rex had a much slower heal rate than like the PT Rex, for example. But it was pointed out to me, I guess, on this server, apparently they do have the same heal rate, and it just looks slower because the Rex has so much more health, so it takes longer to get to that point. I compared it after that, and it still looks to me like the PT Rex is way faster. The heal rate just ticks up super fast, but that's what they tell me the reason is. It might just be an illusion, the way it looks like it's so much faster, but I guess because the health pool is smaller, it looks like it goes up faster, but really the rate's the same. Which is nice. It is good. It is nice to have a good heal rate on a creature like this, especially when you're fighting bleeders. You need that heal rate. So each of us are just facing a different direction, so that way, you know, we can protect both ends. We're making sure that I just protect this end and he protects that end. And if they try to come in here, we're going to try to get them tangled up and stuck in the middle, in between us, and then they'll be in a meat grinder where we can kill them. Here he kind of wants to do a little bit of a trade. He's going to try to get some hits on me without me being able to get hits on him. So I'm kind of playing his game a little bit, where I think I can out damage him. We've got to be careful not to overextend too much and get out of this cave. We've got to try to predict his movement and get a hit on him without him hitting me, like right there. And that's a good trade. And then you can see I am using King's Mantle here. That was a bit of a lucky thing because we were getting ready to hunt the Edmont, and so I switched off a Thick Boned and put King's Mantle on for the little bit of extra damage with the Edmont. But it does come in handy with the Acros too, because you don't need Thick Boned with them either. So a little bit of luck there worked into our favor. Just trying to keep moving as much as I can to be a hard target, because he's going to come in and do those little nips like that, and as many of those as I can dodge, the better. And if I can trade, it's even better. But that's why I'm trying to move a lot. And then I'll use Bone Snap like that sometimes just to deter them and get them back and create some space. Maybe create some, you know, situations where the other one might try to run through, and then we can body block him and get him stuck. But a lot of times Bone Snap, I mean, obviously it's great if you land it, but it's even if you don't land it, you can really use it in other ways as well to your advantage like that. This is where he messed up. We were able to body block him inside the cave and then get him in the meat grinder we were hoping for, and then get the win. So that's how we did that one. And that was a good win. That was a really, 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 I was really proud of that win because those two players are two of the very best in the server. And that was a very challenging fight and, you know, environment for the win right there. So those were the Apex Killers clips and the build that I was using on that server and what I've been able to make work best for me. So hopefully that helps you if you were struggling with the Rex like I was. The rest of this is going to be DB3, Divine Beast 3, all mods, 40 times growth server. This is where I think the OG Rex is actually perfect. I love it here. The stats are awesome. On this one, Bone Snap does not do full bone break, so I use Crushing Bite. You still need 2, but it does 20 seconds of bone break if you land them. And this is kind of a mirror match with the exception of they had a Zooching on their end where we had a Sauro Faganax in that same spot. So we focus the tank first, the Rex, the OG Rex, get him out of the way. Next we're going to try to get the PT Rex, especially since he has his call going. But right here, look at the turn on the Rex. Look at that turn. That turning is beautiful. That's how the Rex should turn, I think. If it turned like that on Apex Killers, it would be so awesome. But you don't have to worry about using environment. You can fight out in the open. You can deal with tail riders. It's just amazing. It feels great on the DB3 server. I mean, the way I see it, the bleed heal tail rider gameplay is already the meta. Bone break and fracture have already been nerfed. There's an immunity that comes along with it now if you do fully bone break somebody. So there's no reason to nerf the Rex's turn also, in my opinion. The Rex is already slow and it's forced to fight. So it should be able to stand and trade and be dangerous to try to tail ride it or try to, you know, come up and nip it. The small fast stuff has the advantage of speed and running away and completely avoiding the fight if they want to, or they can go off and run off and heal if it gets low. And the Rex just doesn't have that luxury. So DB has this exactly right. The larger, slower stuff can turn in place better. The smaller stuff is faster and it can hit and run away and use the bleed heal strat. So there's no reason for it to turn better. And I never thought I would say that I found a better balanced server than Apex Killers, but I actually did with DB3. This is how dinosaurs should be balanced. The bleeders feel good, the Rex and the bone breakers feel really good. The Argent is a beast with 20k combat weight, and it's actually a challenge to take out in this server. And the Spino's a brawler. I mean, everything I play on DB3 actually feels like I would expect it to, or it feels even better. Ironically, it actually reminds me of Apex Killers back when I first started many, many months ago. That's how I felt about Apex Killers. I was so amazed with the balancing of all the dinosaurs, and I loved it so much. And as it's been growing, as I said, it's been growing and changing, and they're adding mods and they're adding rules, and the Path of Titans game itself is changing, so they're having to adjust to all that. And with those adjustments, sometimes there's just changes that I don't necessarily agree with or like or understand, and so it can be, you know, just like it's human nature. It's hard to deal with change sometimes. And I see it happen with all the community servers. There's many, many community servers I've been a part of, whether it was Mezzo or Arizoa or, you know, Loft or Apex Killers, you know, or Dynasty even. You know, they grow, they get really big, and there's a lot of changes that get made, and a lot of staff gets added, and, you know, sometimes there's some things that are uncomfortable that come with all that. And so it's nice to be able to, you know, just swap over and come to a server like DB3 from time to time. You can mix pack with the members of the same diet as long as you don't exceed the slots. So whatever the slots are, you fill those up and you're allowed to do whatever you want. You can mix and match and, you know, carnivores with carnivores and herbivores with herbivores. And then there's no body down rules. It's just a 60-second timer after you get done with a fight. You can't, if you see somebody fighting or if you get done with a fight, you got to wait about 60 seconds. You got to wait exactly 60 seconds before you attack again. So there's a bit of time to eat and heal. But it's and it's super fast growth. So, you know, you do get bombarded by a lot of stuff like these Discord groups like this one here. We were our little group and they were their little group. So we had a big battle here in GP and it was a lot of fun. you can really take advantage of a lot of the grouping. Like Saurophagonex can group with conchs and aloes, and you can get all those benefits from it. And you can do the mob boss packs. You can mix, like you could do like an Alio Dasp Rex combo and have like a full bone break setup, or you could do a full bleed setup, or a combination of the two. Just a lot of versatility here. Herbies can hunt. They can actually aggress when they want to, so you could put together some really cool Herbie groups as well. So if you just want to have a lot of fun combat, just fighting, lots of action, not sitting on bodies down, not a lot of rolls, then this is a great place to come for all that kind of stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, I hope to see you out there in Gondola. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.